On this auspicious gathering here for the much awaited performances by the Little Champs. So before we move on, I request Miss Ruby and Miss Rubin and Miss Jessica to escort the guests onto the stage. Look at the sky, ladies and gentlemen. We are not alone in this universe. The universe conspires and bestows upon us the very best, said Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So before we get on, let's begin this auspicious day by lighting the lamp and having a prayer song by the children. I request Miss Rubin and Jessica to hand over the lighter. of CHAMPS Academy. Welcome, sir. Ms. Pearl Raj, the Director of CHAMPS Academy. And a very special guest who is our chief guest today, Mr. Rahul Saxena. He is Artist of Change and Artist in Residence at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Thank you for coming, sir. We also have Mrs. Sampath, who is with us, who is from the teaching fraternity and a very dear friend of CHAMPS Academy. We have with us Mrs. Sri Devi, Principal of Busy Bee School. I now call upon Ms. Pearl Raj to give the welcome address.
Thank you, Ramya. That was very nice. A very good evening to all of you. A very good evening. Very good. Very, very happy to see all of you. At the onset, I would like to thank God for having a dream come true. Let me share about that little dream of mine. Every year for 3 consecutive years, we've had annual days outside the school, which meant that we had to take the children outside and they were really stressed. But this time, can you believe it? We're having it in our own school campus. That is an achievement from all of us. So really, really happy about it, and I really thank God about that. I would now like to introduce and welcome, first and foremost, our chairman, Mr. Aiden Raj, and we'd like to present you with an appreciation. Could we have the memento, please? Thank you, Chairman, for being here and for your presence. I'd also like to present a small memento to Mr. Rahul Saxena, our chief guest for the evening. Thank you, sir. I also want to welcome all our eminent guests out here, Mrs. Sampath, Mrs. Sri Devi, Sheila ma'am. Thank you for being here in spite of your busy schedules. You've made it here. I really am honored to have you here. And now the most important part, I'd like to welcome all you parents. I am so happy to have all of you here. The place looks full. I think you need to come turn by turn, stand here and see the glory that I see right now. Thank you, parents, for entrusting us with your children. Do you believe something that I'm going to say? I want to tell you that your children rock. Do you believe that? Yes, I'm sure you do as much as I do. I was looking at all the quotes of Dr. Abdul Kalam. There was one that struck me very much. He said, "Give me a child for 7 years, and afterwards let God or the devil try to take him. No one can change him." Let me repeat that. Give me the child for 7 years, and afterwards let God or the devil try to take him. No one will change him. It simply means that the first 7 years in a child's life is like a very delicate stage. They are like clay that can be molded and shaped. And I feel honored that you have entrusted those first 7 years of the child's life in CHAMPS. Thank you so much for making me a part of that shaping and molding. And I assure you that we are doing our very best to shape and mold your child to be a champ, which is the dream of Dr. Abdul Kalam. He wanted every child to be a champ, and we are endeavoring to do that. I'd just like to say annual day is a culmination of the year, the academic year. It is basically a review of what has happened and what we will be doing in the future. So just a little highlights of what we did last year. Apart from running of the school, we also opened Saraswati Arts. It's an art program which we opened in Palavakkam in CHAMPS. We also have a branch in Busy Bees Palavakkam. We have a branch in Perungudi, and we're going to open a few more branches in Sholinganallur and other places. We also organized 2 very big programs, the Kids Edu Fest and the Kids Carnival. It turned out to be very successful because we had more than 100 participants. We held many competitions such as the Sudoku, Jigsaw, Rubik Cube, Fancy Dress, and the highlight of it all was the Spell Bee competition. So we did quite a few competitions and many schools were involved in these carnivals and fests that we organized. As we look to the year 2016-17, I'd like to tell you that we are now ready to launch Grade 1 and Grade 2 for the academic year 2016-17. We really deliberated a lot, we reflected a lot, we prayed a lot about it, and my husband and I finally decided that I think we're doing a good job, so let's move on. So with his backup, we are now going to start Grade 1 and 2. In order to make the curriculum even more precise and profound, we have taken the Exceed program. I'm sure you all heard about the Exceed program. It is very, very high. The standards are really high, and I assure you of the best quality in education through Exceed and through CHAMPS. Apart from that, just one more point, and I'll close. We have the inclusive department, I think you all know. So we are also planning to launch the Occupational Therapy Center as well as a counseling center to enable the children who need that help and to become more and more part of the mainstream of our program. So I ask you, parents and well-wishers, relatives, grandfathers, grandmothers, all of you here, please pray for us so that we continue to bring out the best in your child. Thank you so much. And are you ready for the Big Bang? I think you are. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Educationists should build capacities of spirit of inquiry, creativity, entrepreneurial and moral leadership among students and become their role model, said Dr. Abdul Kalam. The CHAMPS vision says this is a place where the who is discovered and the why is answered. So, keeping in vision this insight, CHAMPS Academy has taken the leap forward, and we are moving and introducing Grade 1 and Grade 2. To formally usher this, I request the chairman and our chief guest, Mr. Rahul, to burst the popper and announce it formally for us. Ms. Ruby and Ms. Jessica, kindly escort our guests back to their seats, please. Mr. Rahul Saxena, who is the artist in residence at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, is here with us. He has spared time for us to share his amazing experiences at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, his interactions with Mr. Abdul Kalam, and also talk to us about his ideas about education. He is an artist of change because he reinterprets materials, everyday materials, into beautiful art pieces. His forte lies in seamless conversion of almost anything. Broken bangles, coconut shells, bottles, cereals, you name it, and he can transform it into art. A simple mantra, that is, willing to experiment, allowed to fail. That has what has been kept him driven. So without further ado, I request Mr. Rahul to come and share his experiences with us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and young champs. It's indeed a pleasure and a privilege to be here with all of you this evening. The theme in particular, Be a Champ, is something I relate to personally. And I've been in conversation with Pearl ma'am for the last few years, trying to understand her vision for the school and for the education as a whole. And I seem to see synergies in that. It's very privileged to be here this evening. The word champion is a very interesting word. It stands for somebody who beats all odds to come out at the top. And if you look at the champions, I've personally been studying stories and biographies of many champions across walks of life. And if you take a few names, to my mind, a champion is somebody who needs no introduction. You take the name and you know he's a champion, or she's a champion. Look at the likes of a Sachin Tendulkar, a Pele, right? A Bon Bog, a Muhammad Ali, an A.R. Rahman, a Vishwanathan Anand. They're all champions in their own chosen walks of life. Do you agree? Now what is it that takes to make a champion? Everybody wants to be a champion, very few become champions. When you understand and try and read these success stories, and I did that over the last few years, I've read thousands and thousands of stories, I find there are 4 things in common across all these people. The first is to have a dream. Unless you can dream it, you cannot do it. That's the first thing. And which is what Pearl said, it is here that you find the how and the why is answered. This is the 2 important days in your life, the day you're born and the day you know why you were born. So it's the first important step. The second thing that you find common across all these people is the willingness to act on the dream. The third is to believe in your dream and to stay the course. It's not easy. No champion made it easy. It's always a struggle before the light lights up at the end of the rainbow. So that's as simple as that. And I was reading a very interesting book the other day called The Outliers by a gentleman called Gladwell MacDonald. Do you know how long it takes to become a champion? Would anybody want to take a guess how long it takes to become a champion? Years. It takes 10,000 hours of persistent practice to become a champion at anything that you want. Alright, there's research backing it. If you try and understand what it means and break it down into our daily lives, there are certain things we need to do in the day that has to be done. You need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to do so many things. There's certain things that you want to do in your life, and that's where your passion lies. If you identify that, that's the first thing, and you give it at least 2 hours a day, or 1.5 hours a day, discount the weekends, discount the holidays falling in and all of that. In a year you can clock about 500 hours. Correct? So if you're looking at 10,000 hours, it takes 20 years minimum to become a champion. That is provided you found out what is it that you want to become a champion at. And it could be anything. It could be anything. If you go back to the examples I quoted, look at Sachin Tendulkar. What did he do? He saw a red ball and there's a piece of wood which is called the cricket bat. And he decided, I'm going to just hit the ball with the bat. And that's all he has done throughout his life. Is he a champion? Is he successful? Has he got fame? Has he got gratification? What did Zakir Hussain do? He decided, there's a leather surface and I've got fingers, I'm going to tap the leather. Is that all he's done? Is he famous? Is he a champion? Is he successful? Take anybody. Take anybody. The key is to find what is it that makes you different. Most people can see, but they cannot visualize. Everybody has something special in him or her. So that's my first request to all of you here as parents, to please allow and encourage your children to dream. Let them follow their heart. They will find and they will show you the way. The child is the father of the man. They also say to live a dream or to become a champion, you have to believe in something, you have to believe in someone, and someone has to believe in you. And that someone invariably is the parent or the teacher. I'll also take some more names again which you might have heard of. They're also champions. Albert Einstein, Graham Bell, Beethoven, Bach, Da Vinci, Edison, Newton, Jane Austen, Michelangelo, Mozart, Mark Twain, Van Gogh. What do you think is common among these names? They also had the same 4 things. They dreamt, they acted, they persisted, they lived their dreams. But they're all people who they now say probably belonged to what is called the spectrum. And that is something else which is becoming very prevalent and very, very common these days. They were, as children, they were different. Some of your parents might be knowing this, might be going through this. all children are not the same. Everyone is different. Some behave differently, some talk differently, some act differently, some learn differently. Allow the child his or her space to find his own way. Right? I also would like to share very briefly my very long conversations I've had with Dr. Abdul Kalam sir. And it was a privilege to be hosted as a state guest and live life in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And when I spoke to him, he's the first person who's actually given me an audience and heard me say what I spoke very briefly about. It's years and years of experience. And he says, what you're saying, Rahul, makes a lot of sense. And it is my purpose in life to help children spark their purpose in life. Because every child has a purpose. But as Dr. Kalam said, in India you'll find this a big challenge, because in India you're expected to first become an engineer and then you decide what you want to become. But if you first become an engineer and then you decide you want to play music and you start at the age of 25 or something, you'll start learning how to play music by the time you're 55. So we look at it logically, the first set of names that I took that all found their little passion invariably between the ages 5 and 15. So children are very, very capable of deciding what they would like to do with their lives at a very early age. The issue is the parents know it better.